Oh, looks like the weather is a little unpredictable today, unfortunately, so I can't really go out into those faraway hikes. I was hoping it'd be at least mid-sunny. Actually, funny enough, it's actually drizzling very little, like little specks. So yeah, not an ideal weather to fly. One funny thing too, yesterday, since I was in a time crunch, right after that hike, I just went straight to my martial arts and I went there with my hiking boots. Try doing that with your hiking boots. I was there and I was like, okay, I guess I can't do like the regular pivots and all that, or turns like in the stances. Like, doesn't matter in real life. You're not gonna say that. Like, if you have to fight or whatever, you're wearing hiking boots or whatever, you're still gonna have to be able to do it. Fair enough. Tanks and cannons again. You guys actually linked to me an interesting podcast the other day. Talked about like something about NASA and drones, which I'll talk a bit about later. I just gotta finish my little meeting here. I believe it's about safety and coordinating with drones and the other things in the airspace. And it made me think about the safety because yesterday, when I bumped into one woman in particular, her very first question about the drone, which is actually very common, he goes, well, what happens if it runs out of battery? That's it, it's gone, right? It's kind of funny how the very first thing people think of with drones is something going wrong. It's like they don't realize like how sophisticated they are, like in many ways. Like once I talked about stuff like GPS, or just the fact that it warns you, like at least for the Mavic, like it nags you when you're like low on battery in a certain amount. They're even surprised of that, so it's kind of amazing. All right, be back in a bit. All right, all done. Seems like the table's out in the middle of the street here. You guys think this is a normal sight around the world? Talk about sharing the road. Buddy. I heard from a little birdie that apparently the new proposed laws might be coming pretty soon, actually. And speaking of birds, I was reading about that robot bird drones around the airports today. Apparently they actually tried to fly them. It's kind of funny just to listen to it, because apparently what they were talking about is how they have to convince Transport Canada that it's safe. So they still need, like, for example, like the actual pilot and someone to monitor it, to my knowledge. What was interesting in that article, I thought, was how they kept saying things like, we have to convince Transport Canada that it's safe. So they're basically doing all the steps to do so. It makes me think, like, you know, as Transport Canada, shouldn't it be their job to research into it to make sure, like, they understand what it's all about, as opposed to someone, like, kind of pushing it to them, like, come on, it's safe, come on, look at this, look how safe it is. It just shows you kind of like the backwards mentality like they have when they made these laws and stuff, in my opinion. You guys ever seen this before? One day, guys, I can capture views like this. Would it be so bad if a responsible drone flyer like myself took out my drone and flew it just to capture like the ocean views and everything like that here? One day, right, guys?
Hey guys, there are actually no dogs on the beach. Can we just take a picture here? If they stay right there, yes. Yeah, we're just taking a picture. Okay.
Bending the rules. So from what I gather, basically, oh, what's this? Oh, it's really cool. They're really comfortable around people, as you can see. There, that should make you happy, Crashcopter. I was reading here in Finland too. Apparently you guys have wolverines. Can you show me some wolverines, please? Yeah, so for this podcast you guys linked me to, it's about NASA, basically researching about drones and safety. And it had all these interesting things about it. It says it's called the UTM, the Technology Capability Level 2. And it says here they're using their tools in at least 6 sites like around the country to test, I guess, drone flying and everything like that. I thought this was interesting because remember how Garneau said, like, since he's been through the NASA program, then I guess, you know, in many ways he understands drones and all that, which I think we all agree he doesn't, like, by the sounds of it. But here I'll link everything up below for you guys to read it too. But from what I gathered, the main thing I got out of this article, or the podcast as well, is they're trying to determine ways on how drones can actually communicate with other vehicles, as opposed to always relying, I guess, like from person to person, like radio contacting each other. I guess there's like artificial intelligence where the drone can recognize, hey, there's another drone here, you're here, stay away from me. Kind of like a smart car in many ways, how cars, they can drive by themselves. As well with that, there's often talk like, hey, you can't like waste time communicating with the helicopters or vice versa in an emergency. So yeah, this way it's supposed to, I guess, automate the process. And this is interesting. I mean, it even says here, so we studied that. We also studied what happens when we need to push priority access for public safety. If there's a lost hiker or a search and rescue or anything like that, so we need to be able to send messages to everyone right away. Say, please clear around the airspace. You know, that's the type of thing I was talking about before, which I don't understand. Like, why instead of saying, hey, ban everyone for the airspace in general, because there could be a possibility. Why don't you work out a system like this, where if you don't want anyone flying in the area because of an emergency vehicle at that moment, then yeah, give them an alert and everyone will, you know, go down. But a cool thing about this is instead of having the mentality of, hey, ban them all, just because we don't know how to deal with them, they're actually trying to proactively work ways to accommodate it, to make it safer and to make the communication better, which is why, you know, we should be doing here instead of just saying, ah, they're dangerous, just to fearmonger people, like they're all military weapons as a way to keep them all grounded. I never actually tried things like waypoints and all that for the drone. I'm too paranoid. Like, again, like for people like me, we actually think of safety all the time. The most I've done for automatic modes are things like the active tracks and the follow me. And that's only been in controlled situations where I know, like, you know, I'm in an open field and there's rarely, if anybody, there. Waypoints and stuff, again, like that's more commercial applications, like for the most part, I think. You might be able to use it for recreational, but I just like the control better. Like yesterday, the footage I got, like I don't know how you do that in a waypoint, trying to fly in between all the trees and everything like that. Podcast was interesting though. Maybe you guys want to check it out and maybe you'll get something different out of it. But to me, again, that's the way it should be. Proactively working towards ways to move the tech forward as opposed to keeping everyone grounded just because you don't know what you're doing, like for the transport minister and all that for the most part. I mean, in some ways I think that's even better if you just said so. Just, you don't know how to handle it, you're way behind the times and you just can't think of anything about it. But to say, like, for example, hey, it's all dangerous and giving all these fake, I don't know, narratives and all that, is just not the way to go. These trees all seem so small now compared to the one I saw yesterday. I think that would be technically the biggest tree still in my mind. Alright, see you guys later.